All right, y'all. So what's happening? Hold on, let me cut my radio down. Yeah, y'all can't hear that, but I can. All right. So what's going on, y'all? So tonight, you're probably like, Brother Tom, I can barely see you. Well, that's because the light in here doesn't like being. Well, anyway, I won't even talk about the light yet. We'll get to the light in a minute. First thing I'm going to say is, welcome to the channel. Second thing I'm going to say is, uh, I was going to do this video earlier, but uh, it takes my phone like 20 years to upload a video. So if you're just watching this and it's tomorrow, then that would be why. Um, anyway, with that being said, tonight I figured I'd do an episode of what not to do in the Walmart parking lot. Since last week I ended up missing out kind of because so what happened was the car broke down. And this is all has something to do with what not to do in Walmart parking lot, by the way. So the car broke down, and it broke down, and I couldn't fix it. Um, well, essentially, I could fix it. I just didn't have the money to fix it. So I had to wait until something happened for me to be able to fix it. Now, the gold car, I ended up selling. I ended up selling it real cheap just to get this one running, which, okay, so be it. But I had to get something going because I didn't have a way to get anywhere I needed to get. So, what not to do in the Walmart parking lot? Well, so I sold the gold car. And the first thing I did was go buy the part for this car. Now, I figured it wouldn't take nothing to pop the old part off and put the new part on. All it was is a belt tensioner. It's one bolt, it's a 13 socket, and it's off normally. But when you're me, it turns into one bolt, 13 socket, bust your knuckles, break the bolt off, call somebody who knows how to get bolts out of engine blocks in the middle of the night in the Walmart parking lot. Now, back to what I was saying about what not to do in the Walmart parking lot. Don't break off bolts in the damn Walmart parking lot because you might be stranded there for a period of time that is ridiculous and you might freeze your thumbs off. Yeah. On the upside, we got the bolt out and the car is fixed. My thumbs, on the other hand, are another question. So I'm still growing them back from last night because I froze them off along with what was left of my ass from previously freezing it off last year. And yeah, that was still growing back. I didn't have nothing to sit on all summer. And now finally it grew back a little bit and the motherfucker fell off last night because it was colder than a pinwing's testicles outside. It was cold, to say the least. But like I said, the car is running. And don't break down in the Walmart parking lot because it's embarrassing and it's cold. Did I mention that it's freezing? Now, you're probably saying, Brother Tom, you're wearing a short sleeve t-shirt. And that would be correct. That's because Brother Tom is sitting in the car with the car running and the heat on hot, fixing the cigarette lighter so I can charge this phone. With that being said, these cars, they don't have air conditioning or a heater as you know it now. No, not hardly, no. And I have people that can vouch for this. This car has cold and hot, and which translates into, if you put Freon into the condenser, it's going to be cold. And I don't mean like, a little cold. I mean like in 110-degree weather. My last one of these used to have a block of ice that would form under the dashboard and it would just start dripping. A block of ice, no bullshit. Sometimes it would form under the hood. That's where it's supposed to form at. But apparently when the little hole that the water's supposed to drip out of gets frozen, it drifts back into the car. Yeah, that's what you call cold. And in the wintertime, you have this other thing called hot. And the funny thing is, it doesn't say heater. It said, what does it say? Economy. I can't really make it out. But see, the people at GM learned by this point that the heater was out of control. See, they learned that there was no real heater and that there was the energy of the sun coming out of these vents. Mm-hmm. I thought something was wrong with me when I was sweating in the car while I was sleeping, and come to find out, it's nothing wrong with me. It's the fact that I need to have all four windows down when I'm sleeping, because if I leave the heater on, I'm going to burn to death. Because that's how hot this heat, when it snows, it snowed the other day, the car will melt the snow not only off of the car, but it will melt the snow off of the surrounding cars and the ground beneath it. If I'm lying, I'm dying. And so far, I'm still alive. But yeah, so that's what the plan, I mean, that's what the deal is. And yeah, that all happened. And so basically, the belt tensioner broke. It had a reverse backfire, which is not good for these engines, but they do it. 3.1, 2.8, 3.4, I think the 3.6 GM engines, they all have this thing called a reverse backfire, which is it's 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 like a so what happens is when you turn the key and it doesn't turn on, sometimes this it'll reverse itself. Like when you shut the key off to try to do it again, it won't stop turning. In other words, it's like caught half turn between cylinders, between compression strokes on cylinders, and that compression pushes them backward. Well, that backward motion causes the tensioner to break. So if your tensioner already has like a stress crack in it, or it's just fragile, because they only make them things out of pot metal, which I had the other tensioner dead in my hand before I got in the car, but I probably left it sitting on the roof or the trunk like a dummy, so I could show you what I'm talking about. But so the belt tensioner is the tensioner that holds the belt on the car. It is, most new cars have only one belt. A lot of old cars don't have a belt tensioner because they have multiple belts. This car is not that old. I mean, yeah, it's a 95, but that's not old for me. I'm talking about like 1980s and before. They all have separate belts for everything. Normally they don't have tensioners. Sometimes they do, but it's multiple tensioners. With this, it's only got one tensioner, one belt. It's called the serpentine belt. It goes around everything. On the regular car, it has V belts, which is a whole bunch of belts in series. With that being said, the tensioner on these tends to break. And when they break, you have to replace them. A lot of time they break. It's not a hard replacement. It's just that when it's been on there forever, and you got to keep in mind this car only has 95,000 miles, so it's fairly new still. Not new, but not well used. So that bolt has been in there since 1995, and that bolt hasn't moved since 1995 and was not going to move to come out. So old brother Tom, who thought that he didn't have the strength that he used to have, said, "Oh, I'm gonna get this sumbitch out." I put a little too much strength on it. And come to find out, I still have the strength that I used to have. And I broke that bad boy up in the block. And I had to call Jason out to come get the, my other buddy works on cars. I had to call him out to come get the bolt out the block. And we sat out there and freeze together for a few hours. But the car is fixed. And it has a new belt tensioner on it. And everything is on up and up, and everything is working. I guess this is just my update on what's going on. People at the inspection station earlier today ripped me off. They ripped me a new one, and I just fixed the cigarette lighter. Excuse the mess in the car. So yeah, that's about it. Don't have a lot of time on my phone. Getting ready to go down here and start working on the van in the cold. Why? because I need to move it while ain't nobody sitting in front of it because it needs a jump. The whole week went by. I couldn't get a van to jump. I've been stranded because I couldn't get the car started. It's a long story. But that about sums it up. If you haven't told somebody you love them today, make sure you tell them you love them today. Because it's a week before Christmas and you don't know what they're going through. And trust me, there's some people going through some things. And that includes me too. Trust me, it's not cool. But that's every year for me. And I'm sure it's every year for a lot of other people. So, and if you're one of them people, reach out, man. Don't be afraid to reach out. I'm always here to listen. I'll talk to y'all later. Phone's about to